It's time for Media Meltdowns, and who wants to guess how the leftist media described the violent Antifa-like protests that broke out the front of a sold-out Turning Point USA event at UC Berkeley? Well, they described it as mostly peaceful.
Yeah, things have been lively here. While that Turning Point USA event is still happening inside, protesters have been out here for hours. You can see them still here behind me. They have been chanting, just a very, very lively scene out here. While things have been mostly peaceful, there have been some tense moments. Earlier this evening, there was a scuffle that broke out where two men started fighting. UC Berkeley police had to break up that interaction. Later, someone was throwing smoke bombs and a car backfired, leading some of the people who were protesting to run away.
Mostly peaceful, except for a bit of a scuffle. And let's play another clip of what actually unfolded that the media won't show you. And here's another clip of thugs mocking Charlie Kirk's assassination. You're dead, homie. You're dead, homie. Yeah, that didn't make it on the left-wing news either. Instead, CBS wanted this student's voice to be heard, who described Charlie Kirk's legacy as vile and disgusting.
But other people are happy to be here for the event.
Turning Point USA should not be here, and they are like a fascist organization, and nobody here agrees with what they are saying. And obviously Charlie Kirk has been a big issue with like a lot of college campuses and people on college campuses. So we just think obviously I didn't really follow him a lot, but knowing what he did and knowing the things that he was saying, it's just like vile and disgusting. So we don't want to support his organization, and I don't think that the Berkeley chancellor should have let them come here.
Maybe she should start following Charlie Kirk's message and listen to a bit of what Charlie Kirk had to say. What about other leftist media outlets like CNN? The outlet that described the BLM protest as mostly peaceful as well described Trump's assassination attempt as a fall. Well, according to CNN, Antifa-linked violence, it barely exists.
Compared to right-wing extremists, Antifa-linked violence is rare and limited. But that has not stopped Trump from blaming Antifa for just about every act of violence in America since he first got into office.
What about Jimmy Kimmel? How did he describe Antifa?
You understand, there's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa. This is no different than if they announced they rounded up a dozen Decepticons. We've captured the Chupacabra, everyone.
That's right. According to him, it just doesn't exist. And the thing is, these people claim they're telling you the truth. According to late-night host Stephen Colbert, shows like his are designed to tell you how to think.
I'm curious what you feel like the great affirmative case is for a show like yours.
Why should shows like mine continue to exist, or like Kimmel or Jimmy or whatever?
And I said everyone plays a great affection, which is why I'm saying
I said, why? Oh, we're like your friend who at the end of the day paid attention to the news more than you did. And you're aware of it, you just didn't do the detail work.
We know more than you, is essentially what he's saying.
And then we curate that back to you at the end of the day. But it's really more about how we feel about it, or I as the person who is the vehicle for that, how we felt about today. All those things that might have made you confused or angry or anxious or happy or surprised or something like that. I feel that way at the camera, or to the audience, really. I'm really performing for the audience, and the camera captures it.
Joining us now is CJ Pearson, RNC Youth Advisory Council co-chair. CJ, it is great to see you again. How's Stephen Colbert essentially admitting that he thinks he knows better? I know more than you do. It's just so painful. But I want to get your thoughts on the leftist media describing these violent protests as mostly peaceful. I mean, we've heard that before.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We've heard this before. They don't even have any new lines to come up with to describe, Antifa trying to intimidate people from engaging in the free expression of their political beliefs and ideals. And this is truly unfortunate when you look at the history of UC Berkeley, which used to be a bastion of free speech. Of course, it is no longer that. We saw that last night. We saw rampant violence, them setting things on fire, all because they were upset that they might be exposed to speech that they disagreed with, or that may have hurt their feelings. It's completely insane, but it goes to show this is what's happening in our college campuses here in America, and we need to get serious about ensuring that we got to root out this indoctrination. These campuses used to be about education, no longer the case, it seems.
Yeah, and looking at the protests, I mean, they were so violent. A video has gone viral that captured a man beating up a Turning Point USA supporter near UC Berkeley. That man has been arrested and charged. And, these Antifa-like thugs were causing so much chaos, as they always do. There were people mocking Charlie Kirk's death. Let's just take a look at another video.
Last hour, we've highlighted for you as some fights broke out in this crowd. Again, we know 2 people have been detained as emotions are high and tensions are high, as we saw some of those protesters clashing with people waiting in line to get inside. We know the university has added enhanced security measures. They've called in a lot of police from Berkeley as well as UC Berkeley, and Turning Point USA has also hired some of their own independent security to be on campus. There are strict policies to actually get inside of Zellerbach Hall, but we know certainly tensions are high outside of Zellerbach Hall right now. We want to show you some more video here of some of that law enforcement presence as they took at least one.
Yeah, a little bit more detail on Fox News compared to that CBS report, but it's just so horrifying to see some of the violence. I mean, and Charlie Kirk was assassinated just 2 months ago for speaking the truth. We heard an ABC reporter kind of romanticize the alleged assassin in a bizarre news report as more details were coming out about the assassin. Now, despite all of this, despite all these woke lefties who still describe Charlie Kirk as vile, there was a packed house at UC Berkeley for the TPA USA event. Let's take a look. Yeah, we love to see it. Still so much love for Charlie Kirk.
No, you're exactly right. And it goes to show that regardless of how, often these people try to censor free speech, I think people are obsessed with the idea of actually being passionate and going out and fighting for what they believe in now, especially in the wake of Charlie's death. I think we've talked about this often on your program, is that his passing created 1,000 Charlie Kirks, millions actually, right, across the world who are ready to, pick up the mic and fight for what he did. But what I find interesting about that previous clip more so is the amount of security that Turning Point had to bring on campus, the amount of police officers that had to be present at that event. I've never heard of a liberal campus event having to have that much security or that many, police officers present for them to be able to, vocalize whatever they believe in. Why is it only conservative events that have to make the investments in security that we're seeing at this event? It goes to show, they have never been the party of tolerance, and they certainly aren't here today.
Let's talk about the government shutdown that's finally come to an end, dragged on for well over a month because of the Democrats. And it's been revealed by Axios. A group of moderates told Schumer they were ready to vote to reopen the government, but Schumer said no. He said, no, hold out until at least the beginning of November. He was privately fighting to keep the shutdown going. And look at how CNN is reporting just Schumer's popularity. He is the least popular Senate leader ever.
What about Democrats nationwide feeling about Chuck Schumer? I think the word of the day is terrible, 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 terrible. To quote another Charles Barkley when it comes to Chuck Schumer, look at this. Least popular Dem Senate leader ever. I looked at all of the polls going all the way back since 1985. The one who has the lowest rating among Democrats is, in fact, Chuck Schumer. Look at this. He's underwater with Democrats.
CJ, he's been exposed here.
Absolutely exposed. And I think the reason he was probably privately fighting to continue the shutdown is because he was scared of mommy. And mommy in this case is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And he was worried that if he caved and if he made a deal, that he is going to have to deal with a primary challenge and she will be the end of his political career as he knows it. And so it's a shame to see them playing such partisan politics with people's livelihoods. You know, it's Veterans Day here in the States. And it's so crazy to me to see so many of these folks tweeting happy Veterans Day when their political gamemanship is why so many of our brave men and women in this country who wear our country's uniform were not receiving their paychecks, right? So you want to say that you support our men and women in uniform, but you didn't support them getting paid because you wanted to fight for illegal aliens to have health care? Yeah, no, you can sell that, you know, BS narrative to someone else because the American people aren't buying it.
100%. And then you saw some Democrats upset that the government shutdown was coming to an end. Look at this.
Tonight, 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this continuing resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote.
And CJ, Democrat John Fetterman has rightfully blamed his party for the shutdown. He wrote on X, after 40 days as a consistent voice against shutting our government down, I voted yes for the 15th time to reopen. I'm sorry to our military, SNAP recipients, Gov workers and Capitol Police who haven't been paid in weeks. It should have never come to this. This was a failure. Now, CJ, I think if the Dems want to win people back, they should be acting a bit more like Fetterman.
I think so, but I think Fetterman's acting like a Republican, so that might prompt a little bit of an identity crisis for a lot of them. Right? You know, I think that the Senator Fetterman needs to stop playing footsie to the Republican Party and just come on over. You know, you are in the political wilderness of your own political party. They've basically excommunicated him for having common sense, which apparently is a crime in that party. And I think that, you know, over the course of the past few weeks, the guy's been speaking truth to power. It absolutely is insane, again, to see them playing political gamesmanship, political games with people's livelihoods, their ability to provide for their families, put food on the table, closing their children's back. Democrats cared more about putting the interests of illegals first than they did about hardworking, everyday Americans. And so I think Fetterman's absolutely right to call out his own party, but I think he's got to put his money where his mouth is and maybe make a change if that's how he's really feeling.
Well, President Donald Trump did not hold back when he spoke about Schumer and the Democrats.
He thought he could break the Republicans, and the Republicans broke him. But he did think that we have good policy, they have bad policy. And there's something, I don't know if it's Trump derangement or are they just crazed. They're like crazed lunatics. But, you know, we have just great policy. We have good people. They have some good people, too. I know a lot of Democrats. They're not all crazy. They're not all. But you have some that are absolutely terrible. I look at this Crockett. This is a very low IQ person. And I look at somebody that comes from Somalia where they don't have anything. They don't have police. They don't have military. They don't have anything. All they have is crime. And she comes in and tells us how to run our country. The Constitution says this, the Constitution. The whole thing is crazy. I feel badly because I've known Chuck Schumer. I knew him when he was a person who loved Israel, and now he's a Palestinian. He's become a Palestinian. And it's amazing. I've never seen a politician change so much. Also, he doesn't have, you know, he was a pretty talented guy. He's lost his talent.
He doesn't hold back, does he, CJ?
He doesn't at all. I think he did not mince any words, but I think he was completely right on the money. Chuck Schumer did think he could break us, but we broke him. And this may very well be the end of his tenure as the U.S. Senate minority leader. It seems as if Democrats are ready to move past him and turn the page. And it's a shame. It's a shame because it goes to show just how it doesn't matter how moderate you try to be or how, you know, far left you try to be. You just can't be far left enough for some of these people that are in the base of their party here today. They want you to burn it all down. They want to destroy the institutions. Everything that they accuse President Trump of wanting to do, they are actively attempting to do. Every single accusation from them is a confession. And so I think that that's exactly why Chuck Schumer's fell out of favor with this party. Is exactly why you see them, you know, hoisting up people like Jasmine Crockett as the face of their party, because she is now the face of their party. Mom Donnie is the face of their party now. That's the they chose, and that future will be their undoing. But you know what they say, when your enemy's in the middle of making a mistake, let them, and I'm proud to do it.
Just finally on Donald Trump, he's revealed his healthcare plan during that Fox News interview, saying, call it whatever you want, anything but Obamacare. And of course, the key difference is that he wants to pay subsidies directly to consumers instead of insurers.
Well, I watched Obama from when this thing came about. As you know, I opposed it very strongly. Unfortunately, we had a couple of negative votes, which should never have happened. But I said it's going to be a disaster, and I was exactly right. The premiums have gone up like rocket ships, and I'm not just talking about recently. I'm talking about for years they've been going up. And he said premiums will go down. Everything will be wonderful. It's horrible health insurance at a very high price. And what I want, and probably what you're alluding to, is the fact that I want, instead of going to the insurance companies, I want the money to go into an account for people where the people buy their own health insurance. It's so good. The insurance will be better. It'll cost less. Everybody's going to be happy. They're going to feel like entrepreneurs. They're actually able to go out and negotiate their own health insurance. And they can use it only for that reason. That's the beauty, only for that purpose. And if we did that, that would be so exciting. Call it Trump care, call it whatever you want to call it, but anything but Obamacare. Obamacare is a disaster, just like he was as a president.
CJ, what do you make of what Donald Trump had to say there, promising Trump care?
Again, it's just more common sense. We get government out of the equation, things just tend to work out a whole lot better. And that's what the president's proposing. Let's empower, consumers to make the healthcare decisions that, fit them and their families and their lifestyle. And let's stop parenting them using, Big Sam as the vehicle to do it. And so I think that this is definitely a welcome proposal. I think the cost of healthcare in this country is a shameful thing. And I think that we have to address that with a solution. I think many folks on the right have begun to say that because there is an affordability crisis in this country. Things are just too damn high, and healthcare is one of them. And I'm glad to see the president prioritizing an approach that will actually solve this problem, not just put a Band-Aid on it.
Now, CJ, as someone who's key in the MAGA movement, I want to talk about the infighting that's happening. It seems to be blowing up, especially after Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes, who has, of course, said the most disgusting racist things that you could ever imagine. Ben Shapiro is slamming Tucker Carlson for platforming him. There are plenty of others that are all fighting publicly against one another. On the one hand, I, of course, think that it's great that Ben Shapiro is highlighting some of the vile things that Nick Fuentes has said, because that seemed to have been missed by Tucker Carlson in his interview. And it's, of course, it's important to call out your own side and be critical. But where is the MAGA movement at the moment? It seems like there's just a lot of fighting amongst each other.
It's often ironic when you as a 23-year-old have to tell your older brothers and sisters in the movement to grow up, but I think many of them should. I think we've got to get past this point of airing out our dirty laundry publicly. A lot of these folks, they have each other's numbers. Text each other, let them know what's going on and why they should, maybe change their approach or some of their rhetoric and their tone on some of these issues. But, I'm always been a proponent of more speech is better than less speech. Yeah. I think the only way to defeat bad ideas is to present good ideas that are better than those bad ideas, right? And so I think that, here's the reality about Nick Fuentes. There are many things, as you said, that has said that are very vile and reprehensible. But I think the only way to undermine those things is by actually saying what is the better solution to those issues, because for better or for worse, he's tapped into a lot of young people and their emotions. And so we've got to figure out why that's happening and basically appeal to their better, the better side of themselves. But I think it's unfortunate to see all this infighting publicly because it means that we're not focused on our actual opponents, the left. These people want us dead. As we covered, earlier in this segment, these people are actively, mocking the death of Charlie Kirk, firebombing, pipe bombing Republican conservative events. Why aren't we talking about that? Why are we not aiming all of our fire at them? And so that's my concern with this. I'm saying condemn bad people, condemn bad ideas, do that if you please, but let us not lose sight of the actual enemy in all of this and what they want to do to this country. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Just finally, actor Billy Thornton is calling out celebrities who bring politics to award shows. He made these comments on the Joe Rogan podcast, who also slams celebrities that want to talk about politics when they're accepting an award.
Unless you have really studied stuff and really know about a subject fully, who the hell would want to listen to an actor or a musician talk about politics? You know what I mean? Are we supposed to follow this? I mean, if we are, what if they lead you down the wrong road?
CJ, maybe celebrities are getting it. I mean, just last week we heard from Jennifer Lawrence, who seemed to be reading the room. She's now stopping speaking about her anti-Trump beliefs.
Maybe they're following the Sydney Sweeney model, it sounds like. What a trailblazer and leader Sydney has become. As Sydney said, when people, when she has something to say about something that she's passionate about, that she cares about, people will know. And also, too, I think she'll say it when people ask her to say it. And I don't think anyone's asking for any of these actors or actresses to weigh in on fiscal policy or healthcare reform in this country or the state of the Middle East, because frankly, I don't think Jennifer Lawrence is much of a subject matter expert on that. And so I'm glad that they finally discovered some humility, and that's rare in Hollywood, rare in Los Angeles. But it's, hey, credit where it's due. An epiphany delayed, I guess, is not one denied. So God bless them.
CJ Pearson, great to speak to you as always. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to see you, my friend.